Welcome, everyone, to our first council meeting of March. I'd just like to wish everyone a very happy Fat Tuesday or Mardi Gras, depending on your persuasion. My guess is if you're watching this, you're not having a really fun Mardi Gras. but welcome. So with that, Madam Clerk, would you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the City Clerk's office in preparation of the Council Annual Meeting Notice dated December 16, 2024, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The City has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Thank you very, very much. Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer.
Present.
Ms. Hamlet.
Here.
Ms. Comments.
Here.
Mr. Pulowski.
Here.
Mr. Smallwood.
Here.
Ms. Toth.
Here.
President McTierney.
Present. Okay. At this time, I'd like to call on, if they would like to do this, John and Jim Tolvey to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Father and Son.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Madam Clerk, would you please read the explanatory note regarding closed session and hearings and comments?
A closed session meeting is authorized by state statute, was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that council meetings are broadcast live on Comcast channels 36 and 34 and Verizon channels 30 and 33, and rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on HTTV on Comcast channel 36 and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, spell your last name, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the City Clerk's office at cityclerk@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. Unless you're using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for professional emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion now to approve the regular and closed session meeting minutes of February 19th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're on to our report section of our meeting, and we'll start off, as usual, with the mayor's report. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. If you don't have plans this Friday, I encourage you to join us at the Rec Center for the roller skating party in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the Rec Center. It's a great way to get active and enjoy time with family and friends, and you can sign up through the Department of Community Programs website. I'd also like to remind Summit juniors and seniors in high school about the March 7th deadline for the essay contest hosted by the New Jersey League of Municipalities. It's a fantastic opportunity to participate in a statewide competition, and all you need to do is fill out the application and write an essay on what I like about my hometown, which seems to me like an easy topic. There will be 3 winners across the state, each receiving a $1,000 scholarship, and all participants will receive a certificate. If you haven't applied yet, please do so, and let's make sure Summit is well represented. Essays are due in my office by March 7th. Applications are now open for the Summit Police Department's Youth Academy, which offers a wonderful opportunity for our young residents to learn about law enforcement and community engagement. And they have a really cool lineup of activities planned. I got to attend many of them last summer. I think the wall sit competition was probably my favorite down at the Police Academy in Scotch Plains. So I encourage you to check out the Summit Police Department website for more details, including the video that highlights just how engaging this program is. And finally, I know crime and safety are top of mind in the community for many residents, and I'd like to address that concern. So to provide a more detailed update, I would like to call on our Summit Police Chief, Steve Zagorski, to come and take the floor. Thank you.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say a few words about a recent incident that has understandably caused concern within our community. A little more than a week ago, on a Friday, early morning on a Friday, on February 21st, a home in West Summit on Greenbrier Drive was broken into while the residents were home and asleep. Two of the suspects entered the home through a garage using a garage door opener found in one of the vehicles that was parked outside. The suspects remained in the house for a few minutes. They stole some bags, some items, and they also located the key fob to one of the vehicles that was parked out in the driveway. They exited. One of the suspects got into a waiting vehicle, and the other suspect got into the homeowner's vehicle and drove it away. Now, when someone breaks into a home, I've been over this a lot of times, when someone breaks into an occupied home, it's way more than just a crime. It's a violation of the sense of security that everybody deserves. And what made this even more unsettling is when we were doing our investigation and looking at our surveillance video of this incident was going down, we saw one of the suspects was armed with a handgun going into the residence. This is unacceptable. We take it, in Summit Police Department, we take it very personal when a member of our community is put in danger. And if I'm being honest, something like this, it just pisses us off. I don't know what else to say. And know this, we have and will continue to dedicate all available resources to identifying and catching these suspects and to keeping the community safe. Our detectives, since this incident, have been working tirelessly, working this case, following up leads and coordinating with New Jersey State Police Task Force, the Union County Sheriff's Office Crime Scene Unit, and Union County Prosecutor's Office. The safety of our community members remains our highest priority. Over the past 3 years, we have put together an operation plan that we've been utilizing to combat these types of incidents that have been pretty successful over the last 3 years. Without going into too much detail, here's some of the things that we've been doing and some of the things that we've been doing since this incident. We constantly evaluate this operations plan that we're using, tweaking it, adding to it, and what do you call it, removing anything that's no longer helpful. Basically, we're doing data-driven, high-visibility preventative patrols. Okay, we're doing covert, undercover surveillance and decoy operations. We use additional resources with overtime. We bring additional resources in, and we've formed basically our own auto theft task force. That when we bring them in, using just data-driven material, we target specific areas, specific times with these resources. With these, with this resources that we've been using, this task force that we've been calling it, just recently after this incident, we were out there, and on, I believe it was around Fernwood Avenue, early morning hours, they interrupted 2 individuals that were trying to break into a car. They engaged them in a motor vehicle pursuit, chased them out of town, and we had to break it off, though, however. But again, throughout the last few years, we've been successful using this type of method. Also, too, along with this task force, thorough follow-up investigations, which often lead our detectives out of town into Essex County cities, which are often the launching pad for the car thefts and a return spot to cool off stolen cars. When I say that, when these vehicles are stolen, a lot of times the thieves will take them into a specific area. Our detectives, and they know these areas through their experience. For example, and they park the vehicle and they call it a cooling off spot. They park it there for maybe a few hours, a day or so, to see if it attracts any police, and if not, they'll go back to that car and they may take it to the port where they'll ship it out. For example, just recently, before this one incident on Greenbrier, our detectives and some of the members of our task force, they followed a stolen vehicle, stolen Range Rover, to Elizabeth, city of Elizabeth, and they located the vehicle parked with 5 individuals in it. They were able to surround the vehicle and apprehend 4 of the individuals. 1 got away. But this is while they're, we'll follow them as far as they go, out of town, wherever they go, we're gonna, follow up with this. in this most recent incident that was on Greenbrier, we located the vehicle that they stole fairly quickly. And our detectives and members of the task force and with assistance of the state police, we staked out this vehicle for almost like 16 hours. And Tammy, you could attest to that because I think you saw some of the overtime that came in on that. But just to give you an idea of the lengths that we will go, to combating this problem. And I just want to remind everybody again, in December, we talked about, how we've been reducing a lot of these car thefts and these burglaries. But, I caution that, even though we've had a lot of success and we're doing a good job and the community's doing a good job in preventing these things, that they're still going to happen. We're still going to, it's still going to find its way into our community. So I remind the community to remain vigilant as always and to continue to use common sense crime prevention methods as far as locking your vehicle, removing your key fob. In this case, it might be helpful to even, I know it could be daunting, but to take your garage door opener out of your vehicle or put it, at a site, because in this case, that's how this particular residence was entered. Also, too, I would encourage members of the public to stay informed. We put out a lot of information. We put out alerts when these things happen, and I encourage to our residents to sign up for our Nixle and to our go onto our website, sign up for Nixle and our alerts. And also to take advantage of some of the programs that we have for the residents, where you could register your Ring camera with us. Now, that doesn't mean that we monitor it. We just, when I say register, I mean that we know who has a Ring camera. So when we have a crime in a particular area, we have a list of people that we can go to right away, as opposed to doing a random canvas and trying to find out this information. Also, too, I would recommend to our residents to take advantage of our newly instituted crime prevention, where we do a home assessment of your residents. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody have any questions for Chief before I jump in? Okay.
I know we spoke about this, Mayor. One of the residents had made a good suggestion about, is there any way to send just a constant text campaign for residents to lock their cars? I don't know if it's not something we could do, or I'm not sure
people
if it's a
ignore
good
our
idea.
texts already.
Yeah, I
So
know.
we did talk about
Okay.
this, and actually, I'm glad you brought it up. We sort of we discussed it, and I think the answer is the more texts you get from the police department, eventually they kind of become white noise. And so to remind people, like somebody suggested the old 1980s probably, I'm dating myself, it's 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are? Campaign. So to do something like that, to remind people to lock their doors. But I'm going to take this opportunity to remind people to lock their doors and arm their alarms at night.
I just think it's a lot of the, unfortunately, I mean, I have a 17-year-old. They're in and out. They're in and out, and constantly. Just it's not even the adults, but the, maybe the Board of Ed can put out a statement, just reminding the kids daily, like, go home, lock your cars. Go home, lock your cars. I don't know. I mean, just a suggestion.
I have a better suggestion. See this device that everybody has? Make an alarm on it personally and remind
No, you're right.
yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the easy.
Yeah.
It's probably safer and easier. You probably won't ignore your own alarm.
Yeah.
And I also want to say thank you to the police department for really stepping up and doing great detective work and great patrol work, especially in this last week, but always. And I want to make a plug for something that Chief mentioned, which is the home security assessment, which I actually did. I can't believe it took me as long as it did to sign up for it, but it was super easy. Sent an email, and Officer Katiga came out to my house, and the first thing on my list, well, I can't tell you. Don't want you to know my weaknesses, but yeah, it's a great service. It's free. We have several officers, I think 6 officers, Chief, is that right? Yeah. That are certified to do, then they've actually taken a class to certify on how to identify weaknesses in your security of your residents, so.
While I got everyone's attention and the public's attention, if I could just also remind the public, when you're home at night, if you have an alarm system, to arm that alarm system. Even if everybody's in the house, no one else is coming in and out, and you're watching TV, arm it. And also too, God forbid if you are, late at night and you're sleeping and your alarm goes off, a lot of times, you're thinking, call the alarm company. What is that? Is it a mistake? I really encourage everybody, if your alarm goes off at night, first call should be 911. We'll be there in seconds. We'll worry about if it's a false alarm later on. And I think we mentioned this when we did our Facebook presentation last year, but if you do call us up and it's a false alarm, we're not going to usually get billed for false alarms, but we're encouraging you to call every time your alarm goes off when you're home. Because we had a couple incidents last year. We were seconds away from a house that was being broken into. Once we got the call, we were there, I believe it was 37 seconds, but the call didn't come in. It took a couple minutes for the call to come in. If the call comes in fast, because we're doing these patrols, we're in the residential area, we're right there. And again, I know this is unsettling, but we're here for you. We're seconds away, so. Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
I had just one quick comment, Chief. I want to thank you for your leadership. I know when that story came out, that was very unsettling and scary to a lot of residents. I really appreciated the statement that you made. I think it was measured, it was informative, and it certainly calmed me down. I know that you were in charge and were on top of it. So I think that type of communication was fantastic, and I wanted to thank you for your leadership there. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Council President.
Yes.
No, I had to say something. No, I second that. And Chief, just hearing your voice right now, I know it's upsetting, and it means a lot to you to protect this town. It's almost like your baby, right? And I know how you feel about it. And that
All of us.
Yeah, all of us. And that message that you put out was heartwarming. I felt it, Thank you for deploying the auto theft task force. Thank you for the other initiatives that you did, putting the drone up in the air and everything else. But I want to remind the public that it was something that our coach told us when we were playing football, is remember the mission. When we first started the Together for Summit team, when we first elected, we put out there that we wanted to hire 4 more officers, right? Based on the chief's memo and the reasons why. This task force was deployed, but these officers, they came on the weekends, they were with their families. We had to pull them away from things. Some of these things are not sustainable. And I want to remind the public why we are still looking to hire 2 more officers. Because the truth of the matter is, while other towns invest in law enforcement, criminals seek areas where there's weaker deterrence. And we don't want Summit to become a target due to lack of resources. So we have to maintain our vigilance here at council, and there's a must that we give the police officers the resources that they need to protect our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else, Madam Mayor?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our city administrator report. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to start with a reminder that applications for the Hometown Heroes banners are due by March 31st. This program honors our local veterans by displaying their photos on banners throughout Summit. If you know a veteran who should be recognized in this way, please be sure to submit their application before the deadline. Next, I want to highlight the upcoming Summit Free Market events. The March events will take place on Saturday, March 8th and Friday, March 28th. These are great opportunities to declutter, recycle, and give items a second life. So please check the city website for more details on drop-off times and locations. And finally, Earth Day is right around the corner, and we will be hosting our annual Earth Day cleanup on Saturday, March 29th. That's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Bryant Park and Martins Brook Park. This is a wonderful way to contribute to our community and to help keep Summit looking beautiful. We encourage all residents to get involved and participate in this important event. And more information is available on the city website. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, I've got a couple things. I have 2 things, but my first thing, I'm going to allow our Councilwoman Hamlet, our President Pro Temp, wants to take over quickly for a part of the council president's report.
Thank you, Council President. So every day, I get multiple calls from residents all day, every day, which I love hearing from all of you. But one resident specifically calls me every day to remind me that there are e-bikes on the street all the time, and no one's wearing any helmets. So this is my public safety announcement for everyone. If everyone wants to put on your helmet, you can. But in all seriousness, someone very close to my family almost died because of a head injury, a traumatic brain injury, and luckily our fine mayor saved his life and Overlook. So I am very serious about helmets. True story, very true story, and it was just a couple years ago. You don't really think that it can happen to you. I see parents with kids who are 2 years old, 4 years old on scooters without helmets. And I literally just want to stop them. And Chief Zagorski, I'm sure you watch them all day long as well. One of my ideas recently has been, we work with a company, a nonprofit called Avenues in Motion. They come out once or twice a year, and they do all the helmet checks. I've reached out to them because they donate a lot of helmets. And Chief, I'm not sure if this would be an idea that we could implement or not, but I know that your force is often tasked with a lot of responsibilities, so you don't have the chance to write a ticket for a helmet all the time. If we get enough donations for helmets, I was going to have some kept here at City Hall, or maybe in your police cars. If we see somebody without a helmet, we can just give them a helmet. I'm up for all the ideas, but I just think we really need to be proactive. Jim, would you put your helmet on?
I snowboard every weekend and I wear a helmet all the time. My head is like, my head is recovering.
Really worried about his hair.
But in all seriousness, I think it's something that we should all take very seriously. Please, Mayor did a video a couple of weeks ago. Maybe we can recirculate that, and maybe we can all pledge to circulate that as well. So thanks for giving me the airtime with my helmet. I'm going to wear it for the rest of the meeting.
No, super important. Safety is paramount, and especially little kids. I know I sometimes get on my bike without a helmet, and it's very silly and not very intelligent to do. All right, my second part, my report is, for those who missed it, I want to thank Madam Mayor, Councilman Smallwood, and Councilwoman Hamlet. They sat in on the Board of School Estimate meeting yesterday. This was the first cut of the school budget. For those listening, we are in the process of our budget, and I know Tammy is working super, super hard on that. Interesting fact, though, this city budget is only low 20% of your entire property tax bill. So I love the fact that people come here, they care about the budget, people send flyers out about the budget, there's all sorts of excitement about the budget, and people should care about it. We want to provide a budget that reflects our priorities, but also understands that New Jersey is an expensive place, and we want to be focused on affordability. I mention this is because the school budget is over 50% of your property tax bill. It's much bigger than the city budget. And they announced last night, for those who didn't tune in, that their initial cut on their budget would look to increase their portion of your property tax by 8.86%. That's a big number. The cap is 2. We're fighting really hard around that number. I get it, it's not hard. And I want to thank the Board of Ed and the professionals there. It is not easy to deliver budgets in this type of environment where there's been a lot of inflation. We didn't cause inflation. We are living with inflation over the last several years. But I would hope that numbers like that would get people engaged in the process. You need to make your voices heard. Okay, so the next Board of School Estimate meeting is Thursday, March 27th, I think. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, at the Wilson Primary Center. So keep your eyes out for announcement about that meeting. And that is my report. Okay, at this time we are going to go on to our historical minute. Councilman Pulowski.
So I'm going to hand this off to Councilwoman Toth, who has a presentation in honor of
Women's History.
Women's History Month?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Pulowski. So March is Women's History Month, and in fact, Saturday is International Women's Day, which is sort of the apogee of the month. And Summit rightly touts its strong history of volunteerism. For that, you can thank the women. This is a brief rundown of some of the organizations that make Summit strong and the women who created them. And I know I've left so many great organizations out, so please let me know what I missed. Starting in 1897, before Summit was incorporated as a city, Violet Johnson, a domestic servant, moved to Summit with her employers. She was one of fewer than 100 black residents in a community of 6,000, and there was no place for her to worship. Ms. Johnson was the driving force behind what is now Fountain Baptist Church, a thriving congregation on Glenside Avenue. Betty Adams, who until recently lived for a long time in Summit, wrote the story of Violet Johnson and others in Black Women's Christian Activism. It's available at the library. Fast forward almost 60 years to 1954. The women of the Junior League saw a need for safe, affordable, high-quality child care. They founded what is now the Learning Circle, part of the Summit Area Y. And today it serves 200 children with subsidies for many families who could not otherwise afford the tuition. And 2 years later, the women of the Summit College Club realized that new mothers needed help at home. What began as a housekeeping and nursing service quickly became Sage Elder Care, located on Broad Street. And today, Sage delivers Meals on Wheels for Summit and other area communities. It hosts a medical adult day center, largely for folks with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It provides home health care services and so much more. Sage enables many of our most vulnerable seniors to age in their own homes. In 1975, Kathleen DiChiara realized members of the Summit community were food insecure. She started by distributing food from the back of her station wagon, and today we have the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Bonnie Morrison, who's sitting in the audience, detailed Kathleen's story last month, so I won't repeat it here. Not too many years later, Karen Olson, then a busy advertising executive, bought a sandwich for a homeless woman in Manhattan. That grew into Family Promise, the country's largest organization battling family homelessness, with a 67% long-term success rate in housing families. And then more recently, Amanda Block, with support from the Junior League again, founded Grace to provide nutrient-dense, fresh food and much more to any Summit resident who needs the assistance. Summit has named Grace a program of the city, and its 10th anniversary is next year. I hope we'll all celebrate. But wait, there's more. I haven't even mentioned the Connection, the Fortnightly and Junior Fortnightly, the Women's Resource Center, the Christ Child Society, and many other amazing women-founded organizations right here in Summit. The bottom line is that when you come across a nonprofit organization in Summit, you can probably thank a woman. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Councilwoman Toth. All right. At this stage, we're going to move along to we have a couple of ordinances for introduction today. Madam Clerk, will you please read ordinance for introduction from the Finance Committee?
ID number 11791, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. I'll go into more detail about this ordinance in a couple of weeks when we have the hearing. But 3 points right now. One is this is an ordinance we do every year. It is fairly routine. Second, although we're talking about lifting limits, this is not an ordinance that is going to allow the city to raise your property taxes by more than the statutory 2%. What it does is set aside some excess spending power, not taxing power, in the case of an emergency. like a natural disaster or something. And we'll discuss it more in a couple of weeks. But I move this ordinance for introduction.
I second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please read the ordinance for introduction from the Law and Labor Committee?
An ordinance of the City of Summit, County of Union, establishing an electric and/or natural gas aggregation program.
Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is ID number 11805. This ordinance authorizes the City of Summit to participate in the governmental energy aggregation program. Adoption, and we had a presentation on this previously, thanks to Councilman Smallwood, who is working on this as well. Adoption will allow the city to enter into agreements with Concord Commercial Utility Consultants for energy consulting, JCP&L for local distribution, and the cooperative pricing agreement officially adding Summit as a participating member. To be included in the upcoming auction, council must adopt this ordinance at the March 18th meeting and file all necessary paperwork by April 1st. This ordinance in no way commits the City of Summit to the program, but it will allow the consultants from Concord to search for a co-op that Summit could join and give us an estimated potential savings. I move this ordinance for introduction.
I second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. All right, moving right along, we've got a few resolutions to get through this evening. The first set is from Community Programs and Parking Services. Councilman Smallwood, number one, please.
Do you read that? Or
What's that?
it's a resolution? Got it. Never mind.
That's all you.
Thank you, Council President. This is Resolution ID number 11810. This is to appoint Tatlock Neighborhood Committee members. Based on the Tatlock community meetings that we held last year, as well as the meeting that the Council President and Mayor held in January with the Tatlock community, and out of all of those meetings, it was determined that, whether lights went in or not, there are some issues surrounding the Tatlock fields, whether it's, crosswalks, sidewalks, parking, as well as traffic. So the purpose of this Tatlock Neighborhood Committee is to address some of those issues and then come back to the Safety Committee or the Department of Community Services with their recommendations. So with that, I would like to thank you for all of the residents who applied. And I would like to congratulate Jocelyn Modesto, Alex Go, Marian Longo, and Katie Iskovich, who will be serving on the committee, along with Councilwoman Kalmanson, Councilman Pulowski, as well as Councilwoman Hamlet. So we hope to hear back from them about some really good recommendations that we can implement at at Tatlock, around the Tatlock neighborhood surrounding the Investors Field in Upper Tatlock. I move to approve this resolution.
Second.
Awesome. At this stage, are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this resolution? All right, members from council. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Community Programs and Parking Services, number two, Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 11796 to declare a vacancy in the Department of Community Programs. This is kind of bittersweet resolution because I would say probably a few months ago, up until recently, everyone may know him as Nolly, has accepted a position on a Wall Street firm to further his career. And it's bittersweet because Nolly deserves everything and every opportunity that he can get because he's such a wonderful person and has such a connection with not only the parents, but the students and the athletes that he worked with on our youth programs. He was absolutely irreplaceable. And the past couple of weeks or months, actually, we've been, kind of piecemealing it together. And there are several of our Department of Community Program employees who've been kind of filling his position. And now we're actually gotten to the point where we need a full-time person to fill his spot. Nobody will ever replace Nolly, but we're hopeful that we will find someone just as extraordinary as Nolly. So I move to approve this resolution.
Second.
All right, comments from the public? Comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Capital Projects and Community Services, number 1, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. 1 second here, sorry, just looking at something else here. Can I bundle 11775, 11775, and 11776?
The first two?
Yes.
Please do.
Thank you. Okay, so these resolutions will authorize the 2025 consultant engineer services of both Boswell and Colliers, each not to exceed $100,000. The engineering division hires professional engineers from time to time for capital projects as needed. In November, the division received 10 responses to a publicly advertised request for qualifications. All responses were reviewed by the QPA and the Capital Projects and Community Services Committee. Obviously, many of these firms have different strengths in different areas. Our Director Schrager, this will allow him to have some more flexibility within his engineering outsourcing, and I would like to move to approve this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, both those resolutions pass. Capital Projects and Community Services, number 3, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. Okay, this is Resolution 11779. I apologize, my planning board brain and my council brain are looking at this easement, and I'm just double checking that it was the right thing. This resolution, again, 11779, this is the owner of 2 Parkview Terrace submits an application to the city's planning board to subdivide their lot. During that process, it was discovered that an existing sanitary sewer line traversed the property, but no formal sewer easement exists. The department requested one be created, and it was included memorializing the resolution for this project. And additionally, the lot subdivision requires new deeds to be prepared for the individual lots, which need to be signed by the mayor. At this time, the easement and deeds have been reviewed by the department, and we find them all to be acceptable. So I would like to move this resolution for approval, and I believe, Mayor, this is the one we had at the planning board last weekend, so we'll be extending this one at the planning board, right?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council?
Just want to note that the planning board unanimously voted for this as well, so.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Capital Projects, number 4, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. Just give me 1 second. I'm scrolling through here because I don't have my paper copy of my agenda. I apologize. Just give me 1 second. This is Resolution 11803, authorizing the grant application submission for the 2025 Sustainable Jersey Grants Program and PSE&G Foundation. And let me just pull up the grant real quick. I apologize. Do you have it on you, Bob? I apologize. Sorry. Okay, here we go. I got it. Sorry about that. Okay, so through the Sustainable Jersey Grants Program, Sustainable Jersey and PSE&G Foundation provide funding to support efforts to implement projects that help municipalities gain points needed for Sustainable Jersey certification and make progress toward a sustainable future. Funding these projects that serve as practical and innovative models for the rest of the state and make measurable contributions toward the long-term goal of a sustainable New Jersey. Eligible expenses include stipends, consultant or contractor services, equipment, training, and education materials, or related expensive project supplies and promotional items. The City of Summit Environmental Commission is submitting an application to the 2025 Sustainable Jersey Grants Program, and they're applying for a grant in the amount of $2,000 to assist further pursuing the city's plan to install a solar array at the DPW facility at 41 Chatham Road that will include both solar canopies, which can double as equipment storage for vehicles currently left in the elements, and on top of roofs that meet the requirements for solar installation. I would like to move this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council?
I just have one question, Council President. Director Shager, can you remind me the last one we received from Sustainable Jersey? If you remember, if you don't worry, 'cause I can't remember.
Yes, through you, Council President. I believe, and I don't want to mix it up because there was also a tiny forest, but it was to help with our environmental resources inventory,
Oh, that's
which is
right.
currently underway. I'm
Yep.
fairly certain that was the most recent Sustainable Jersey grant. It's okay.
Thank you. Other comments? I guess I just have one question, Director Schrager. So this is a 2,000, but I see we can also apply for a 10,000 or a 20,000. Is this the only spot that the Environmental Commission thought might be a good spot for a solar array?
Yeah, so this one we have in the works somewhat already because we do still have some equipment that we'd like to get under at least coverage from the rain. I mean, while it's not fully enclosed, we have some concept plans for canopies down there. And we know that there's a sanitary sewer building there that has a brand new roof, so it has some candidates. Other roofs might have some issues, including City Hall. I don't mean like bad issues, just might not have the surface area, or might not have the strength, or might be due for replacement. So this is kind of the easiest lift to apply for down there. And like I said, we're pursuing it now anyway, so.
Okay, thank you.
I just want
yes,
to
Madam Mayor.
mention a little shout out to Donna Goggin Patel, who is our Environmental Commission Chair, and she has been working tirelessly on all of these things. And I think, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, she is very much working on the inventory. Am I right about that? Or is that-
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
So I just want to make sure we thank our volunteers, and she
Yeah,
does
I
as a volunteer.
agree with that as well, because there's a lot of stuff that she's, picked up that we're not able to get to, and she's doing a great job. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. As you know, and Aaron knows, I'm a huge fan of solar, and I've had several conversations with Councilman Plowski as well as Councilwoman Hamlet, and we reached out to a consultant that looks at all of the buildings, municipal buildings, as well as schools, to kind of give us an idea of what buildings would be actually usable in terms of solar, and they are presenting, or they are presenting a suggestions on what is the most utilized buildings and spaces. One of the things that they mentioned were the parking lot at the high school. So it's something that I think we should also, bring to the attention of the Board of Ed to help bring down some of their energy costs as well, considering the large budget that they presented last night. So, having an aggregate, it's a key word tonight, aggregate, right? Having an aggregate overview of all of our municipal buildings and our schools, I think at least a presentation on what that would look like, what it could cost, and also entering into a power purchasing agreement, which allows the solar company to come in and install and maintain solar on our buildings, and in some cases would even replace roofs that may not be able to withstand the solar currently, but there are certain power purchasing agreements that will actually replace the roofs for us. So I think that's coming soon, and I think anything that's going to reduce our cost from an energy standpoint, and as well as increase the, the environmental safety of our city is a positive.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilman Pulaski.
Thank you. I'd also like to add, when we look at any of these solar projects, another thing that Kevin and I learned is that the solar companies are also equipped, willing, and able to install charging stations. And given the increase in electric cars that we have seen and we expect it to continue, it's an important infrastructure upgrade that we're going to need as a city, to kind of keep up with the times. And to the extent that any one of these projects that we engage in, we can get 5 or 10 charging stations included as a part of it, I think we should really do that.
Okay, other comments? Councilwoman Hamel.
Another question. I guess now you have me thinking now, Council President, because what's the deadline for this grant? Because I noticed even I know we can't apply for the Board of Ed, but I don't remember seeing any, what types of things, Aaron, besides, I just don't want to miss an opportunity here if there's something else, because I can always think of ways to get grants. And this is a pretty good one, but I'm looking at it right now. I guess we can talk about it afterwards. All right, we can talk about it later.
It's like March 21st.
Okay, all right. Take a look at it in committee and see if there's anything else we can think of.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, capital projects, number 5, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID 11794, which will appoint, as discussed in closed session, due to the resignation of the city's municipal housing liaison officer effective February 21st, it is necessary to appoint a replacement per affordable housing regulations, which require that a municipal employee be assigned as a municipal housing liaison. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Summit that per the recommendation, the recommendation is Augusto Del Maso, the city's land use manager. B, he is hereby appointed municipal housing liaison effective immediately. I would like to move this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council? Councilman Boyer?
Council President, I'd just like to say that I previously didn't know Augusto. I didn't work with him often until the CAPS committee, and the work he's been doing has been outstanding. And as an investigator, as a manager of investigators, I had asked him to look into something, and I said, I need an investigation report. And what he provided was outstanding. I was like, wow, look at this, man. You could have been one of my investigators. It's great. But he wears many hats, and he's been efficient, productive, and on point. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet.
Just 2 comments. One, I'd just like to thank the outgoing Land Use Secretary, Stephanie Soulios. She did a lot of great years of work here within the city. We rely on her at the planning board, the zoning board. She's fielding calls all day long. And just obviously want to wish her the best in her new endeavor. As for Augusto, he is doing an amazing job. You are in good hands with him as the Municipal Housing Liaison Officer, especially this year as we go through the 4th round of affordable housing. We will also be, he's also working on the cross-acceptance process with the state and the state plan. And he's really an asset, and we're really lucky to have him. So thank you. And thank you, Director Schrager and Tammy, for mentoring him along, and Rosie.
Good comments. No, I think it's super important. Obviously, as Councilwoman Hamlet mentioned, we're in the thick of it around ending round 3 of our Mount Laurel obligations and getting ready for round 4. So I'm super excited to have Augusto on the team. He'll be a great asset to shepherd us through to a good conclusion for the city. All right. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Capital projects number 6, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. This is my last one, 11795. As discussed in closed session, declaring a vacancy, Department of Community Services, the Division of Public Works, declaring a vacancy of the Maintenance Sewer Unit Maintenance Worker. Pursuant to policy section 5-1, employment procedures, recruitment, a vacancy is hereby declared for the position of truck driver in the Maintenance and Sewer Division of Public Works. I would like to move this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public, please. Comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving right along, we have one finance resolution. Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. This is Resolution ID 11788. It is titled Amend Contract and Authorize Additional Fees, Payroll, HR, and Time and Attendance Contract Prime Point. This needs a bit of unpacking. For almost 5 years now, we've contracted with Prime Point sort of to manage the back end of our payroll system for us. And for an additional $2 per new hire, they will file all of the reports that are required when we bring a new person on board. So this resolution merely amends the existing contract to allow Prime Point to do that additional filing up to $1,000 a year. If you're doing the math, that would be 500 new employees a year, and I doubt our turnover is anywhere near 100%. So we're going to be paying significantly less than the full $1,000 cap. But this will certainly take a burden off of Megan Champney, who runs HR for us. So I move this resolution for adoption.
I second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council?
I just said.
Council.
Yes, Councilman Boyer.
Council President, thank you. This is a 5-year contract for payroll services. And I know we've had conversations about contracting with different vendors and how we choose vendors and the best price of vendors and things of that nature. So we're locked in here for 5 years.
Well, we're locked in here to September 30th. The original, I mean, that's the first extension contract. So we're in the extension period.
We're in extension period. Okay.
So we're locked in for 1 year.
Got you. So at the end of this 1 year period, we will be kind of looking for other vendors, or yes. Business Administrator Ballwood can answer that.
Through you, Council President. So yes, this is, Councilwoman Toth is correct. This is the first extension that we're in of a potential 5-year contract. With professional services, we award 1 year, and then we have the option to extend for up to 4 years, each year renewed before council. I would just caution, I've gotten some tips and tutelage from Councilman Smallwood on talking to Prime Point when this contract expires, but changing your pay, we've had great service with Prime Point. If we can reduce it through some methods, I will absolutely try that. Changing payroll and HR is monumental. So I think it's something that if I could respectfully request we avoid, but get the best price that we can and continue with that service, that would be my wish. But we, of course, will look at it and see where they're pricing. They're locked in at the prices they provided for each of those 1-year extensions up to 5 years. We can always ask for some sort of reduction and see what we can do.
Thank you.
Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet.
Yes, so one question I have for the city administrator, if that's okay, Council President. Sure. Having spent a previous lifetime working for ADP, my one question, who was handling our wage garnishments before we were doing the new hire reporting?
Through you, Council President. So the new hire reporting, I can't even tell you exactly why we do this. It's this manual form that you have to report to New Jersey. It doesn't have to do with the garnishment and the wages. We handle all of that deductions through Prime Point. We actually cut the checks and pay what we need to pay in terms of garnishments and any deductions.
I think
that
that
are
this
taken.
new hire reporting will take care of that wage garnishment for you.
No. This new hire reporting is I'll show you, it's a manual form that every time we hire an employee, we have to send this form to the state of New Jersey. I'm not sure why.
I think it's because if they're not paying child support, this flags the system.
Well, we
right.
already put garnishments in the system we enter them.
You know,
By
I would
court order.
just say, do you know, Kevin?
Yes.
What? Is
Did I
that-
know about the new hire reporting?
Right, but
Yes.
I thought that this handled the wage garnishments. That's why I'm surprised it doesn't.
It doesn't handle, it alerts the state that there is an existing garnishment order out there
Okay,
somewhere.
that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. Yep, that's it. That's all I got.
Any other comments? Yes, Councilman Smallwood.
Right. So just to clarify, so this just alerts, so if someone has for example, child support garnishment, and they leave their company and they go to work for
Right.
another company or the city of Summit, the new hire reporting is to alert the state that this person who has a child support garnishment now will alert
Okay.
our city administrator that, hey, we
Got
need
it.
to pull X amount of dollars out of their per
Okay.
payroll.
I have another question. I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
So one of the things that we were speaking about as Michael Rogers was still here was our HR system. City Administrator, can you just talk a little bit about, so when we break this down for $60,000, that's the payroll processing, we're using them for time and attendance, correct? For which departments? We use them for time and attendance for who? For just the city? This DPW,
Through you,
cops?
Council President,
Yeah.
except for police and fire. they're
Except for
through
police and fire.
DCS.
So my question is, this actually seems pretty reasonable if you're looking at HR. Do we have the most basic HR package? Because that's what I'm assuming we have. I remember Megan Champney really talking about the need for a more robust HR system. Is that something that we're looking at in the budget this year, or that we've deemed that's not this year? And just from a performance management, employee performance review, I know it was important last year. I just wanted to get your thoughts on if that's something down the road or if we need it.
Through you, Council President. So we did look at quite a few. I wasn't extensively involved, but before we would make a switch, I would need to be. We looked at quite a few human resource, very robust packages. The lowest price one that we found was over $200,000. That is not feasible in this budget. We do have a fairly basic, fairly basic program with Prime Point. There are things that I believe Prime Point can do with our guidance and our assistance. So I think we can make it more robust. They're willing to customize and work with us. They have a great government sector, so they work really well with us. Will it be everything that we dream it can be? Perhaps not, but you have to balance the price of something and the cost of something and what it actually delivers.
Okay, thank you so much.
Other comments? My one comment would be, I'm shocked that there's a manual form you have to send out to Trenton. Yeah, what a shocker. What if they put it in what is it, a salt mine shaft? Is that where half our government records are stored? In any event, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, last, moving along, Law and Labor, Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. This is Resolution ID number 11816, a resolution to support publishing legal notices on official government websites. Currently, we are required by law to publish notices on in print newspapers, and as we all know, we're living in a digital world, and print news has become a thing of the past. So I think this purpose of this resolution is to urge state leaders to pass legislation that will authorize municipalities to publish their legal notices on their local government's official website. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council?
Well, I'll note only that there have
Please.
been, I'm sorry.
Off you go.
That the state legislature has been, I guess, kicking this can down the road for a couple of months at a time, giving municipalities the leeway to do electronic publishing. And I think it was last week it got kicked down to the end of June.
I saw that too.
So, yeah, so we have a little wiggle room here.
Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, media's changing. Got to change with it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this time, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Council President?
Yes.
If we want to talk about a specific item, can we just pull
Are we?
the one?
Yeah,
Okay.
or, no, you don't have to pull it. You can just talk about it when I ask for comments.
Okay,
I'll ask for comments, you can talk about the one.
okay.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the consent
So
agenda?
moved.
Second.
Okay, do I have any comments from the public on the consent agenda? Any item in there? All right, comments from council. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you. This is particular to Resolution ID number 11797 to authorize execution of an annual lease agreement, use of sidewalk in select restaurants. One of the things that I noticed last year, and it seems like once the sidewalk cafes start going out, they're in regulation. They have the right size, because they, as you can see in the packet, there's a schematic of where the tables are, where the fences are. But as the summer goes along, they seem to be moving, closer and closer. And there's a lot of times, and I remember specifically Winberry's, who's asking for this extension now, there was literally, 2 feet between their fence and a tree well. And I believe regulation is, must be 4 feet. And the 4 feet is minimum, because we need to allow for our residents who are in wheelchairs to be able to pass through. Some of the other, places that I notice are on Union Place, where we have cafes on the outside that are butt up against tree wells. So maybe this is a Ms. Baldwin question. Do we have someone at City Hall that periodically will walk around town and to make sure people are restaurants are in regulation compared to where they're supposed to be?
Through you, Council President, I might defer to Rosie. I believe that code enforcement would go out and look at that, and I don't know how often they do, but because you handle the sidewalk licenses, you may know better than I.
Yeah, the property maintenance unit in Department of Community Services goes out, I'm not sure how regularly, but they do go out and check all the sidewalk cafes. But if there's anyone who ever sees or has a concern about the lack of the 4 feet, they can contact the clerk's office, and we'll notify property maintenance, and they'll go out and take a look.
I'm just wondering if there's any way to, put some sort of temporary marker, right, so that,
Yeah.
I
mean,
the restaurants know.
truck it out, I don't know, but it's something to think about, how we can help them. I don't know that they do it intentionally, things
Right.
just kind of drift
Right.
sometimes, and they don't realize that it is impeding on that 4-foot pedestrian passageway, so maybe marking it out some way by the property maintenance unit could help.
Right, okay. It's just something I think we need to be cognizant of as the late spring, early summer comes along, because it seems to be impeding into, the sidewalk even further and further.
Thank you. Madam Mayor.
I just have a question, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway for the public. C-Click Fix could be
C-Click
used for
Fix?
this also?
It depends on how emergent it is. If it's, it's egregious that there's
Right.
no passageway, maybe a phone call's better, but,
Fair.
yeah.
Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Okay, that's it for our business section. At this time, we're going to open it up for any and all public comments. This is time to make comments on things that were not on the agenda, I would just ask that if you do want to speak, give your name, your address, and please hold it to 3 minutes so everyone can have an opportunity to speak.
Good evening. My name is PJ Englert. I'm at 16 High Street. Tonight, I'm here representing 44 co-authors of a petition supporting Tatlock Lights project. We began circulating this petition late Sunday evening, March 2nd. I'm going to read our petition for you for a second, and I'll share a copy with council as well. Mayor Fagan, Council President McTiernan, and members of the Common Council of Summit, New Jersey, we, the undersigned, urge you to proceed with the lighting of the Tatlock fields while making reasonable accommodations to alleviate neighborhood concerns regarding parking, traffic, and other issues that result from day and night activities at Tatlock. As testimony to the widespread support for this project, in less than 48 hours, we have over 800 signatures already at this point. We plan to provide the full list of the petition at the next council meeting. But we collectively urge council to move forward with this project, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. If you have a statement, please leave it with the clerk.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allie Sternberg. I live at 4 Dell Drive. I wanted to speak out tonight against the recent policy changes that have been made to the Broad Street parking garage for residents with parking permits. I'm a parent of 2 children who will both be attending Summit Public Schools. I also am a working mom who commutes 3 days a week to New York City via the Summit train station. The Broad Street garage is the closest and easiest way to park near the train station in order to commute to the city. It's also a very popular parking garage. If you arrive at the garage after 8:15 a.m., it is almost certain you will need to park on the rooftop of the garage. However, recently the policy of the garage was changed so that the rooftop is no longer available to residents with a permit. It is only now available to non-residents who book a spot online. Residents are forced to either arrive at the garage prior to 8:15 a.m. or park on the rooftop of the tier garage or near the old fire station. For parents of kindergarten and elementary school children, school drop-off is not until 8:05 a.m. at the earliest. What this means is that it is nearly impossible to drop your child off at school and make it to the Broad Street parking garage by 8:15 a.m. Now that resident spots have now been re-allotted to non-residents only, we are now out of luck and unable to park there. I know the argument here is that residents also have the option to park near the old fire station or the top tier of the tier garage. I would argue that this is not a proper solution for a few reasons. One, if you're dropping your child at school and trying to make a train time, you don't have the time to check in 3 different locations in order to find a spot. 2, both options are significantly farther from the train station, making the ability to catch your train even less likely. And 3, I would not feel comfortable nor safe walking alone to these locations, particularly in the winter when it gets dark early, especially in the scenario of having to walk to the second level of the tier garage. What I find most disconcerting about this situation is that residents who are tax-paying citizens and pay for a parking permit are being put in this difficult situation in order to allot more spots to non-residents. This doesn't feel right nor fair. If the goal is to find more spots for non-residents, I would propose letting them park on the second level of the tier garage and reopening the Broad Street garage rooftop to residents. Summit is a town known for being accessible and easy to commute to New York City. However, this shift in policy is now making that significantly more difficult for residents, particularly working parents and realistically working mothers. I hope you'll consider this plea and reopen the Broad Street garage rooftop in order to make the parking situation more accessible and fair for all residents.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments from the public?
Good evening, I'm Diego Hoik, 9 Argyle Court. And today, as Council President Frank McTiernan said, is Fat Tuesday. So I thought appropriate to wear a t-shirt to show my support for the brave people of Ukraine who are wrongly being forced to give up for Lent the weapons they need to fight for their and our freedom. I want to share a historical moment of my own. The Tariff Act of 1930, better known as the Smoot-Hawley Act, aimed to protect U.S. farmers and industry from foreign competition by placing punitive tariffs on over 20,000 foreign goods. the law triggered retaliatory tariffs from our trading partners, bringing global trade to a near standstill. 2 years after this act became law, the S&P 500 had fallen by almost 80%. The U.S. economy would not truly recover until the end of two massive public works projects, namely Lend-Lease and the Marshall Plan. By sheer coincidence, similar punitive damages were applied to our trading partners at the same night that the Summit Board of School Estimate released a budget draft. So, while Bourbon Street is awash in bees and debauchery, here in Summit we're waking up to the reality that this will be a very difficult budget year. Your neighbors put their trust in all of you to steer this community through times of economic uncertainty. I wish to remind you that preserving cash and liquidity, as well as debt reductions, are critical tools of prudent financial management in times of economic upheaval. I also encourage you to share as much information as possible with the general public ahead of time, so we can understand the trade-offs. In that context, I would like to request some information. When will the annual debt statements be posted to the website? Based on prior years, it was likely prepared by January 30th and filed with the state on or about February 10th. Number two, when and how can we access the final 2023 revenues and appropriations? For context, last year's budget snapshot, page 142 of the budget PDF available on the city website, shows anticipated 2023 and 24 revenues and appropriations, as well as realized 2023 revenues and appropriations. However, it is my understanding that the city is allowed to roll some 2023 spending into 2024, so the 2023 numbers were a best estimate. We now need the final numbers. And finally, how do we get a final tally for which projects in the 2024 capital budget were executed and their final cost? In closing, the budget questions facing Summit are not what have we to give up for Lent, but rather how do we get a fiscally responsible budget that protects the quality of our schools and our public services without significantly raising taxes. Thank you. I will email it to you because I made corrections.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Henry Bassman. I live at 18 Hartley Road. This year we had the first appreciable snowfall in several years. And Public Works did a great job clearing the roads and keeping them clear, brining before the snow and clearing afterward. But what I noticed when I came downtown is the streets were clear, but there were snow banks at the edge of the street where it met the sidewalks. And the places where the snow banks were cleared were the crosswalks. And the crosswalks are typically at the end of the street. So if you parked in the middle of the street, you either had to climb over the snowbank or walk in the middle of the street to the corner. And so I'm suggesting that in future years, if we ever get snow again, that an additional place be carved out from the snowbank so people don't have to walk down the whole street in the middle of the street, which can be dangerous at night especially. And that's just I spoke to Mr. Schrager about it before the meeting. I'm sure he'll do something about it, but I just wanted to communicate it to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? No? Last chance? All right, I'm going to close the public comment section of our meeting, and we'll now move on to council members' comments and new business. Who would like to make a comment?
Well,
Councilwoman Toth.
well, thank you. Mr. Hoyk, I think may have been reading my mind. I did want to give Summit residents a bit of an update as to where things stand with the budget. And yes, City Administrator Baldwin is busy compiling year-end reports and getting them filed and uploaded, in addition to running the city, in addition to putting the final touches on the 2025 budget. The governor gave his budget address last year. There are still numbers we're waiting on to plug into the operating portion of the budget. And there's likely some haircutting to do there. We'll see how little we can do. The capital budget, we had the presentation back in December, sat down with the department heads, whittled it down, and the Finance Committee realized it needed some more whittling. So we went back to the department heads and also to every member on council, asking them to rank priorities so that the Finance Committee really could make the hard decisions. And we've come to a number that we think will satisfy the city's immediate needs and meet our financial goals at the same time. So we're just waiting for City Administrator Baldwin to find the extra 6 hours in a day to finalize the budget. In a perfect world, we introduce it in 2 weeks, but don't hold your breath. And anything I said wrong, please correct me.
Through you, Council President. Mr. Hoyk, thank you for reminding me. The ADS will be posted tomorrow, and everything was correct, Councilwoman Toth.
Very good. Other comments from anyone from council? Yes, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, last night was the Board of Education meeting. Myself, as well as the Council President said, Councilman Smallwood and the mayor sat on the school board estimate. We had several meetings with the superintendent and the business administrator. However, full transparency, the school board estimate doesn't actually see all of the detail until the Board of Ed sends their information to the state, which is probably today, and we'll see that in about 7 or 8 days. So there is very limited time to go through that information. I certainly raised some concerns last night on behalf of the residents that I had some questions on the health insurance number. We partner with 119 municipalities in the school transportation, so the school health fund, which is about 119 municipalities, and typically that rate's been 5%. That rate jumped to about 10.28%. So I asked the administrator to go back and speak to what's called the SHIF to find out why that increase is coming back now to our residents without using some of that reserve. Further, we're lucky enough to have our esteemed attorney, Matt Giacobbe, who represents lots of school boards. So we will be making sure that we do all of the due diligence from the school board estimate for the residents. And the other 2 more updates, great job with the homeless task force. I believe they got 1 more housed today. So thanks for your leadership, Mayor. It's been a very emotional and passionate time. I think we have almost everybody either rehabbed or housed that was in the overnight program. The most recent one is getting housed in Hoboken. We're going to give a report on my visit to LA for the homeless task force. It was a bipartisan task force with the Maplewood Democratic councilman, which was excellent. We were there with DCA and Monarch Housing, and we're going to hopefully bring Mike Callahan here. Mike Callahan's responsible for giving us a lot of the rapid rehousing money that we were so lucky to house all of those folks. And the only other 2 things I have to say, I heard from Congressman Kane today that he has had some conversations about the Saltbrook. He's going to be calling me tomorrow, trying to get him and our council president out there to look at that situation, so I'll keep you informed. And then lastly, I can certainly empathize with Ms. Sternberg regarding the resident parking. I actually brought it up at the council meeting because that was one of my concerns. So Councilman Smallwood, I would just say let's take a look at that. I believe we opened up the 35 spots at the, I can't remember what we did there, but I do agree with her that it is a really tight timeline for parents who are dropping off there and going to school. And I do agree that probably doesn't make a ton of sense to walk in the dark, that late. So I think we should take her questions, seriously back to committee and just take a look at that for her. And finally, I love getting all of your phone calls, emails, and I've now the mayor is starting to train me because I will text her something and she will say, see, click, fix. And so I just, it's such a great tool. It's actually one of our most effective things that you can do in the city. If you see something wrong, you just hit See Click Fix, you hit parking sign, you hit sidewalk, and our amazing Augusto handles all of that stuff. Today, there was actually 3 poles down near Lincoln Hubbard, and I got so aggravated because I wasn't sure if they were Board of Ed or the City of Summit, so I actually just brought them in, and then I get the text from Mayor that says, just See Click Fix, and so she even reminds me, but is it a wonderful tool? And Mayor, maybe we can even have Jenny do like a quick tutorial, or on Mondays with the Mayor, because it's our best tool, and in caps, it's just amazing. I think that is, oh, and the other thing about the homeless task force, the most recent veteran that was housed in Springfield, we are looking to get him some job opportunities. He already has 2. So now not only will we got him housed, but hopefully a job, and send him a blender today. So he's super happy.
That's great. Thank you. Other comments? Councilman Boyer.
Council President, I just want to make a comment about the Black History event last week. I thought it was phenomenal. I got to play musical chairs with Claire Toth. And she gave me a rundown on soul music. I think she knew a little more than me. I was like, all right, Claire. But Rashad Wright, the poet, was amazing. I mean, I hope that next year we get more attendance. I think the community would have really appreciated these 2 brothers. From the soul music that Carl Brister played was amazing. I wasn't expecting him to sing, but he sung Marvin Gaye, and again, the poetry by Rashad Wright was amazing. Secondly, I see these helmets today. Soon, our helmet ordinance resolution will be coming out of the safety committee, I hope pretty soon, so that we can protect our pedestrians from e-bikes and get people to wear, our children to wear helmets. Secondly, last week there was a Summit Housing Authority meeting. They will be meeting with one of our advisors very soon. I think the residents there, we're almost a year and a half into this. The residents need some relief, and they're finally working with the city, so hopefully we can make some progress there. Please, community, come out if you want to go to their next meeting. It is going to be on Wednesday, March 26th at 5:30 at 12 Chestnut at the community room. And lastly, I know last year we had a lot of conversations about where the city's priorities are when you look at their budget. And I, again, hope this year that we will focus and our priorities will show that our focus is on safety and security, because again, without that, what are we talking about, right? So always my number one concern. That's the reason why I'm up here. So I will always ring that bell. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Madam Mayor.
I just have to point out that Councilwoman Hamlet's the one that actually taught me to use See Click Fix, which I think is ironic.
Now you're my See Click Fix.
Great. Councilman Pulowski?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. I had the pleasure of seeing the school play last week. It was called The Prom. It was very good. I urge everybody to support the arts. Sports is a huge, huge thing in this town, and sports are awesome. But we also have an equally talented and hardworking group of kids at our schools, and we should go out and support them as well. Second, it is Read Across America Week. I'm looking forward to going reading at Washington School, Jamel's alma, where he read earlier this week. So read to your kids, everyone.
That's great.
Sorry, Council President, I got to say something about that.
All right, come on, come back.
Thank you, Councilman Pulowski. Yes, I went back to the Summit Owls. I went back to Washington School this week and read the kids a book on Joe DiMaggio, which I realized I didn't know that much about Jotlin Joe. Joltin' Joe. Yeah, see, there you go, Joltin' Joe. And the kids were enthused. It was like a 50-page book. And Laura Madden, the teacher, said, Councilman Boyer, I know you got a lot to do. You can leave when you want to, and I read the whole 50 pages. It was great. So Read Across America is a great initiative. I know the mayor read it at Jefferson School the other day as well. So I'm glad that the council members go out and support these kind of initiatives. Thank you.
Great, other comments?
Just one quick one.
All right,
I promise it'll be
Councilwoman
20 seconds.
Hamlin, okay.
I just wanted to mention that the mayor and I had an initial meeting with Bristol Myers Squibb, and then Councilman Camelson and I went out and actually did a site tour, which was super helpful. And we're going to be sort of gathering a lot of those conversations from the residents over at Bristol Myers Squibb. One of the things that I mentioned at the planning board, which I think is fascinating, and I can't really say the word, but on one of the buildings at BMS, what's it called, a venarium, the thing where they put the animals in?
You're making us look bad now.
Animal Research Lab.
Right.
It was an animal, it's something with a V. Do you remember, Michelle?
I think the city solicitor got it.
Venarium or venarium, what's it called?
Aviary?
No, something else. I said it actually right at the
Yeah,
planning
you
board.
did.
Anyway, the residents had been complaining a lot.
Please, France.
On one of the buildings that was behind Kent Place, they had actually, I guess it was an animal research, and a lot of the residents had been complaining about the air conditioning noise, the humming, for years. Well, it turns out that now they actually just don't need that same capacity. So they put some bafflers on, and the residents are a lot happier. But it was just sort of an interesting, historical minute that I didn't even know what this thing was that now I can't pronounce. But I think our meeting was really helpful, and we're going to be able to use that as an opportunity to really advocate and continue to advocate for the residents back there. That's it. That's all I have.
Great. Any other comments? Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to touch on two things. I agree with Councilman Boyer about the Black History Month presentation and by the Department of Community Programs. It was fantastic. And, I got to hand it to Claire, because one of the exercises that we had to go through with Rashad White, the poet, was he gave us 2 lines and we had to write our own poem. And then he gave us a word that only we could use, and we had to create the poem, and everybody else in the room had to guess what your word was. And I knew Claire would get it, my word, and she's the only one that got it, which I can't even remember what the word was, but she knew that I don't use those kind of words, so I knew she'd get it. So it was a fantastic time, and I would actually suggest that maybe we bring, Mr. White back to council and give a presentation, because it was absolutely fantastic.
It was so amazing.
Right? And then also, I'm actually looking forward to him going to Washington School on Thursday to read to the students, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Great. Other comments?
Can I make one more plug? I'm
Yes,
sorry, I
please,
don't
Madam
usually
Mayor.
talk this much, but Bob, Councilman Pulowski reminded me, as we were asking for people to support the arts, the middle school play, which is also coming up and always is wonderful. We really do have talented students. I'm not sure, wow, we're very fortunate. Grease, they're doing Grease, and it's March 14th and 15th. So just want to make a plug for that.
Grease is the word. There you go. Any other comments? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So, second.
All in favor?
You broke his streak.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.
I oppose.